We will, I tell you what, sorry, I know it's habit, but actually starting the public hearing. So we need to rise. That's what I make sure go back. So this is the public hearing for the additional appropriations. You guys should all have before you. Again, this is part and parcel with what we have to do at the end of each year, varying degrees though.
So these additional appropriations are to cover expenses in this fiscal year.
Correct.
In
2025.
2024.
Or 4, thank you, 4, yes.
And is it because we overspent, or is this just sort of routine type?
It's been done every year since I've been on council, because as with budgets, I mean, you set a mark for each department and each line that you try to adhere to, but inevitably the unforeseen comes up. So, and there's some budgets that you come under and don't spend what was forecasted, and then there's others where you, obviously you spend over.
And I can touch base if you want me to on, I think I've got notes for each of you, kind of on the big ticket items where they went over. You know, and at the very top, under general, that first item was for, pretty much for wages for both Jan Walters and Christy Wells. Christy stayed on helping the new court clerk get underway, and Jan stayed on part-time, which was a tremendous help. So those were not accounted for in the original budget. So that's what that figure is. And the attorney wages obviously were more than what we were used to in the past, but. And then, you know, we've got cost in there throughout the funds. Part of the cost is just simply from moving the court from its original location to here. There were some structural changes that needed to be done. Court stationery, just some different things. And then, on the capital outlays, part of that, again, was moving the court, but part of it was also for the money that was originally appropriated at the end of last year for the police cars for that grant. We didn't get everything through, so we have to do the appropriation again this year to cover that, because that one just kind of, because it was not used last year.
It was used
just
in
kind of-
24.
Yeah. And then when you look down at local road and street, there were actually 2 community crossing projects. One that was at the end of last year, but we didn't get all the invoices until the beginning of this year. So that's why they're kind of overlapping years.
And with our attorney fees going into 2025, I wonder if we should consider a retainer versus per fee basis. I wonder if that would be any better. Cause that is for the whole year though, is it not? We bring them on board at the beginning. Steve, do you remember, did we bring them
Yeah.
on board beginning of 2024?
Yes.
It was relatively close to the start of the year. I think it kind of drug it maybe into late January, early February till we actually got all the paperwork signed, but
Okay.
it was right at the start of the year.
Cause it was 20, wasn't it? Before, I think.
That I couldn't tell.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
I think it might have been.
I was thinking it was 20, yeah, and so, granted, they've done quite a bit, they've done excellent, but still.
Well, and I think when Ryan was doing it, he kind of just did a flat fee. He
Yeah,
really didn't
he did.
It was by the
bill
month.
us.
It was
Yeah.
monthly. I think it was
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, it was $1,000.
Oh, mercy, so well below
Yeah,
20.
so I mean,
Yeah, so that's a significant increase.
Yeah.
Okay. Part of that was the hometown discount too, I know.
Yeah.
It might be worth making the inquiry with
Yeah.
them about
Just to see.
if there's
Yeah.
other options that would be.
It's extremely expensive.
Any other, okay, good.
So just trying to understand a little better how this process works. When there are funds that are left unused in various budget line items, do those funds then sort of go back to some sort of holding thing, and that's why we're appropriating them?
well, I mean, you had a budget for different line items, so I mean, it's kind of a guess, thinking, okay,
Right.
this is what we think we're going to spend. There's just different things that come up throughout the year that obviously bump it beyond what we anticipated, just like the attorney fees, kind of the unknown. And then, like I said, when different grants and things cross, you know, what we thought we were gonna pay one year, we ended up having to pay it in the next year. That's why we were looking at that. And then even on the next page, there, it had several more police physicals than budgeted for, because they had more new hires than originally planned.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I will hereby, and this is on the agenda too, I will hereby close the public hearing at 6:07. And at that, would everyone please rise for the pledge and remain standing for the prayer?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening, and thank you for this month, and thank you for all that this month holds. Just thank you for the Thanksgiving gathering that we had a couple weeks back, and for every hand that committed to help, and for all those that were able to gather and to be fed and just have fellowship. We thank you for that evening. We just thank you for this season that we're in, and for everybody who works so hard to make it special. And we just thank you for our businesses. We thank you for our citizens. We thank you for everything that we were able to experience this past year. We thank you for all your blessings. It's not ours. And so help us to be good stewards of it while we're here on this earth for a very short time. And just thank you for this meeting, and pray for your wisdom and guidance, and help us make decisions that best reflect your heart for this community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, Amy, if you would, roll call.
Gary Elliott,
Here.
Bob Leahy,
Here.
Jason Burr,
Here.
Tim Heiss,
Here.
Peter Frias.
Here.
All right. Trust you've had an opportunity to review the consent agenda as presented. Do we have questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
We have a first and we have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Consent agenda approved as presented, and we are fortunate to have a very special presenter tonight. So, Judge Wilcox, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Really, I'm just here to give you a little bit of an update on where we stand now. And I'll do it again in January when we finish out the year. Odyssey is our software program from the Supreme Court, and they're helping us put together some specific reports that I think you might be interested in. But I thought it might be helpful for you to kind of get a little bit of understanding of where we are. First of all, let me just tell you that we've developed a really positive working relationship with the Randolph County Prosecutor's Office. We now have a prosecutor for every court docket. We did not for the first 11 and a half years that I was on the bench. But because we now have that prosecutor, I'm able to handle the cases much more efficiently and in a more timely manner, because I don't have to continue cases when the defendant doesn't show up. Whether you're aware or not, but the legislature changed the way we do traffic in Indiana last year. And it used to be, if you got a traffic ticket and you didn't show up for court, I turned in what was called an FTA, failure to appear, to the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. And they would suspend your license until you either appeared or you paid the ticket. Well, the legislature changed that. And if you have an Indiana driver's license, I can no longer turn in a failure to appear if you don't appear. I have to send out a new summons and try to get you to show up. Now, the interesting thing is, if I have a prosecutor in court when you don't appear, the prosecutor can ask for what's called a default judgment. And all that means is that the state wins by default because you didn't show up. Well, when I didn't have a prosecutor, I couldn't issue the default judgments. I just had to keep continuing and continuing and continuing until infinity if you didn't show up. And what happened was a lot of people realized in Randolph County that nothing would happen if they just didn't show up. So they'd get a ticket for driving while suspended and they wouldn't show up. And they could continue to drive because there was no resolution to the ticket. Well, now that I have a prosecutor at every docket, that no longer happens. So if you fail to appear and the prosecutor requests a default judgment and I grant it, I continue the matter for 30 days. I send you a written notice telling you that in 30 days you have to pay that ticket. And at the end of 30 days, if you have not paid the ticket, I add a $25 late fee and I turn it over to collections. So that's been the biggest change in this year, this calendar year, which has made a major difference. This year, we have turned over $27,558 to collections, which is amazing compared to 2 or 3 years ago when we were turning over maybe a couple thousand at the most. Just to give you an idea of where we are now, we have currently assessed $91,387.50 in fines and fees. And we still have 2 months to go. Last year, for the entire year, we assessed $98,295. In 2021, we did $69,000. So we've dramatically increased the number of fees that we are assessing. To give you a little bit of an idea, right now we're at about 826 cases, and we still have, that's just till the end of October. So we still have 2 months to go. In 2019, I did 312 cases. So last year we we handled 964 cases. So it's been a major change. Most of that is due to the fact that Winchester no longer has a court, as well as the towns. I hear all of the ordinance violations for Randolph County, excluding Lynn. And I only hear Lynn when they're exasperated. Because they have a different procedure where their town board hears their ordinance violations initially. As an example, I have docketed for, I believe it's next Tuesday, 12 ordinance violations from Ridgeville. And I want to impress that in the ordinance violations, whatever the ordinance fee is, and whatever, like at Winchester, Meeks Cockrell comes to most of the initial hearings on the ordinance violations for Winchester, because they frequently ask for the maximum. Odyssey, when I get my docket, Odyssey takes the minimum and posts that as the amount due. So when I hear a case and the attorney is present, they can ask for whatever the maximum is, and then given the circumstances, I can increase the fine. All of the fines on ordinance violations go to the respective city and towns. The court costs are separate. And there are about 26 different divisions where the court costs are divided up. Everything from the tobacco and to seatbelt awareness to the Supreme Court judges' salaries. You know, there's a slew of them. But all of the ordinance fines are go directly to the cities, the towns, and I think that's an important part of it. So far this year, we've done 106 default judgments on ordinance violations. And just to give you an understanding, so far this year we have sent $7,707 to Randolph County, because the county gets a section of a specific amount from all of the court costs. The state has gotten, of course, $21,209,900, and then city and towns have gotten 9,633. So all in all, I think we're doing a really efficient job. I'm hopeful that we can continue along those lines. My new clerk has really, Odyssey is not an easy program to learn. There are so many ins and outs, and unlike the software program I had when I first took the bench, where you could easily go in and correct something, you type it in and it's there to stay. Odyssey doesn't allow you to make corrections. You have to call the Supreme Court to change something. So she has done a really good job of tracking and making sure that payments are in, payments are made on a really sound schedule. So I'm really happy about that. I just wanted to spend just a few minutes today to see if you have any questions about what we're doing or how we're doing it. I was hesitant about moving because I've been in that courtroom for 12 years, but it has worked out fine. I think my only complaint is my office is cold. But a small little space heater is going to solve that problem. but other than that, it has worked out fine. The recording system seems to be working okay. And, you know, I'm still having some problems with the phone lines, but I'm hoping that we can work that out. So, any questions? Anything I can explain or?
Does Dick need some water?
No, I think he's okay.
Okay,
He's all right.
okay.
Thank you, though.
No, absolutely. No, I think the fact that you said you think you've been rather efficient, I think is a grave understatement. When you triple your caseload in less than 5 years, and to be functioning at the level you are is phenomenal. It's outstanding.
Thank
So,
you.
Yeah, you've done an outstanding job.
And just to toot my own horn, the state court administration agrees, and I did a presentation as one of the most efficient small rural courts at the judges conference
In the state of Indiana.
This year. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
That's-
And I've got 3 more years and 2 months, and then I have to decide.
You're in a unique position, not only standing in your courtroom over there versus sitting up here, but
I know, there's my chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're also a citizen here, obviously. Is there anything that you feel like, from our standpoint as administration, that you should be seeing more of from an ordinance perspective in terms of violation?
So far, we've paid Union City $2,211.50 in ordinance violations. We've paid Winchester twice that. So I don't know if whether that's reflective or not of the ordinance officers' work. I hear a lot of dog cases from Union City, but not as many of the actual, like, trash,
Gotcha.
construction debris, you know, that kind of thing. I hear a lot of those from Winchester.
Okay.
I mean, they are, if I don't hear one of those a week, it's unusual
Okay.
from Winchester. But other than that, just for the officers to keep in mind that anytime you cite someone for an ordinance violation, the city of Union City gets to keep that amount. When I first took the bench, the fine was $5 for ordinance violations. The ordinance itself allows for anywhere up to 500. Some of them, depending, like on the water, you know, breaking into the water line, it's I think 1,500. And so one of the things I did was I changed all the ordinance fines, and I looked at all the ordinances, and the minimum, you can set a minimum, but I just set the minimum for what the ordinance said was the minimum, and that's $100. So every ordinance violation is at least $100. And then the court costs. And right now, court costs are $139. That'll go up every year.
And that leads to my question a little bit about what percentage your court gets to keep of the court costs. You know, you explained the distribution of that, and obviously we probably don't get a very high percentage
No,
of it.
we get to keep a very small portion.
Yeah.
I don't have the numbers right off the top of my head, but Union City, from the court costs, Union City gets probably less than 10% of the $139 on each citation.
And I'll clarify a little bit why I asked that. Partially is because I think it's imperative that we we do everything we can to keep a local court, particularly when you consider the fact that Winchester, you know, the county seat, does not even have its own court any longer. The difficulty of anybody establishing a court again is tough. And I think it's important that people are able to get a just court in a timely fashion, and I don't see that the county, that if your court didn't exist, Randolph County would have a crisis in terms of hearing
Let me
court
just
cases.
tell you that when Winchester closed, I took not quite 600 of their cases, and we disposed of them quickly. I couldn't take any of their failure to pays because of the state court administration said that was not acceptable. I could only take cases that had not had an initial hearing. And so 3,200 of those failure to pays, which had never been turned over to collections, was sent to Judge Arnett. And I'm here to tell you that most of those have not yet been heard.
They're still pending, yeah.
And because his docket is huge. I mean, it was already huge before he got those cases.
And I think
So-
this, you know, it's fair, I think we have to look at it from the prospect of being fair to the people that are cited, but I also think it's, the real fairness is to the rest of the citizens surrounding. So if you have an ordinance violation, and if it becomes clear that nothing is gonna happen, nothing can be done, and just like the traffic violations, when you're talking about this, in that scenario where people can continue on and figure out that they can just fail to appear and never have any accountability, then those same people that may operate in an irresponsible fashion are a danger to the rest of the citizens. So, you know, we always think in terms of, if I'm in court, that I get a fair shake, but at the same time, the other side of that is your community getting a fair shake and
Exactly.
getting
And just
things resolved.
Yeah. One of the things that I've done is I've really worked hard to establish positive working relationships with the State Highway Patrol, who write into my court, with Sheriff Moisner, with the Lynn Police Department. I've assisted LaSantville in reviewing some of their ordinances, which needed a little tweaking. And with Ridgeville, we've reached out to all of them. And one of the things I'm going to be doing after the first of the year is just this, is a presentation to each one of their town boards. So they know, you know, what I do, what happens when their ordinances come to me, and what they can expect. So
It's a good idea.
it's been really helpful, because now when I need to serve a summons on someone, I don't have to worry about it laying in a pile somewhere. You know, the sheriff is diligent about getting those served if it's outside of Winchester or outside of Union City. He's really good about that. So it's been very helpful, I think.
Yeah.
Anything else I can tell you?
And I just, you know, Chad and I both been around here long enough that one of the drives that went on early in our term in council service was the push to be more effective on ordinance.
Yeah.
and to get things cleaned up, get people to operate in a responsible fashion. And I think that some of your numbers may be bearing fruit on that, in that we're not, and I think it's, if you drive around, I think it shows, quite frankly. There's always problems in here and there, we all see that, but I think that we're at a good stage with that. So the numbers may not be, you know, like when you can, like say, comparing to Winchester, well, I don't think they're at the same point in time as we are with that, possibly. And
That
so
could
that
very
could
well
be
be.
somewhat the difference.
Yeah.
But I think we've accomplished a lot. I commend the citizens of Union City that have stepped up and really done a great job of keeping their properties fit and well. But at the same time, I think your court has been an integral part of making that happen for us. Because without a strong court, our
One of the things that I
ordinance
stress to
doesn't
people
help.
when they come in,
Exactly.
no matter where it is once you've had your initial hearing in front of me, and you have entered whether it's guilty, not guilty, or nolo contendere, the clock stops on that violation and begins anew if you have not corrected it. And I always explain that to people. When you leave this courtroom, if you have not resolved the issue, you face another citation, and they will just continue to mount.
Yeah.
So I make that very clear.
Appreciate that. That's really cool.
Anything else?
I'm really curious. You mentioned early on that some of the most common cases you hear are dog cases. What
Yeah.
kind of cases would those be like?
I hear frequently dog cases from all over the county.
Like what happens? Like what are the issues? Some just to
A
get
lot
an
of them
idea.
are dogs it's called dogs to be controlled. That means that they're running loose, that they don't have tags, that they don't have their shots. You have to have rabies shots. That they have, I've heard probably a dozen cases in Ridgeville where dogs have attacked other dogs, or dogs have killed someone's cat, or, they're running loose and agitating people or scaring children or whatever. So those are the kind of dog cases I hear.
Interesting. Thank you.
Anything else I can answer? And anytime you have a free Tuesday morning and you'd like to sit and watch, feel free to join us. And if you get a ticket, I'll see you on Tuesday.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Not that I don't enjoy council meetings, but I'm gonna say goodbye.
They're riveting.
Department reports. Amy, do you have anything?
It's been relatively quiet
Yeah.
as far as the audit, but I do need to give them a call and follow up to see where we're at this point.
Okay.
I don't have a closing date or anything yet.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Council members. Tito, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I didn't have too much, but I did hear a concern from a citizen or two about how we manage dogs. If you'll remember, sometime back, we had an issue of what do the police do when they get a dog? How long do they keep it? Can they send it to a shelter somewhere else? Can they send it to Paws here in Union City? And my understanding is in the last few months that the Union City police have had to put down some dogs. And so I just wondered where we were, if there's something going on, what has changed now in relation to controlling the dogs in Union City.
I mean, it's a very liquid situation. Paul's takes on as they can, and then with the resources they have, and then I know Mark has been good about reaching out to like the county to see if they have, but if they don't have availability, then our hands are tied after a certain extent. So I know they've explored additional
They're pursuing plans to have more kennel space for Union City.
Right. So, and that would help. Obviously, that has an associated cost with it too, but that would be one potential solution. And I'll follow up with Mark to see where he's at in that, because I know he approached me actually about 2 weeks ago probably, that he was still working on that. He's bantered about that situation. But again, it's one of those deals that it's like, it's part of being human, you know, it sometimes it hits your radar strong, and other times it subsides, you know, and it's like, okay, everything's fine, and we've got, you know, but I think we're gonna have to move in a direction where we've got more kennel space, so. Anything else?
That's all I have.
No, no problem. Tim?
I don't have anything.
Jason?
Don't have anything.
Bob?
Just one final reminder on the pollution solutions, this coming Saturday, 8 till noon, to drop off any electronics or anything that you have to go. And that will more than likely be the last time till they reopen in mid-March. I don't have the exact date for that.
So what was that again on the last opening?
This coming Saturday.
This Saturday?
8 a.m. till noon.
Noon. Thank you.
And then they usually shut down till mid-March.
Right.
I don't have an exact date for next year when they're gonna
No worries.
open back up.
Yeah, 8 a.m. to noon this Saturday.
Yeah,
Very good.
that's all I got.
Well, thank you. Gary?
I don't have anything.
All right, thank you. And I did get a very sweet message from Wilson, our student representative. He's felt bad about not being here the last couple meetings. He's got extracurricular responsibilities too with the school and what he's involved in, but he assures us that he will be returning to the council meetings before too long to apprise us of what's happening with the school. We have no, Steve, you didn't have anything in particular that's outside of the new business. So, we don't have anything on the old business, but new business, we do have additional appropriations resolution 2024-R-06. This is certainly in conjunction with the public hearing that was held. So if there's no further questions since the public hearing on what was presented for the additional appropriations, I would hereby entertain a motion.
I'll move we accept the additional appropriations resolution 2024-R-06 by title only.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
I'm not sure who that was. Is that Gary?
Gary.
Amy, if you would, roll call vote.
Gary Elliott,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Burr.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
And then ordinance number 2024-11, which is the elected official salary ordinance. This is on the second reading. There have been no changes, and Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's been no changes to this or
No changes.
suggested amendments to this since
No.
it's for approval on first reading. So if there are no, unless there are questions or comments, which certainly always welcome, I would entertain a motion for this as well.
I move that we adopt ordinance number 2024-11, an ordinance fixing the annual compensation of elected officials of the civil city of Union City, Randolph County, Indiana, for the year beginning first day of January 2025. Second, on the second reading.
Good deal. So we have a first, and we have a second.
I'll second.
Tito second. So Amy, if you would, once again, please roll call vote.
Gary Elliott,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Burr.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
And Steve, I will turn this over to you to edit. I know you love it when I do that, but edit capital improvement plan that you submitted to council. Anything you care to summarize regarding what was submitted?
Yeah, it's the 2025, 2026 two-year capital improvement plan for redevelopment commission. None of the expenditures have changed a single penny from the last two-year plan that was approved by council. The revenue has gone up a little bit, or the projected revenue has gone up. And we obviously don't know what it'll be for 25 or 26, but it still falls into the criteria of an approvable budget plan. So it's just something that the council needs to approve. It doesn't mean that that's where the money 100% will go. It's just a projection, and it's something that's submitted, I believe, to the state. So.
Correct.
Question, on the purpose, the first paragraph, the purpose of the plan, last line says, or last sentence says, this plan encompasses the period between January 1, 2023 and ending
That's the
December
date,
31st,
so I'll make that correction
Okay.
tomorrow morning.
So it's 25, 26.
So-
It's 25, 26. I proofread it and I gave it to Amy, and
20, 25.
I didn't catch it, so.
Good catch.
It's a 2-year plan submitted to you guys for approval every 2 years.
Again, those.
Do we need a motion on that?
Yeah, we would need a motion,
With the amended date.
and you would still be the governing body for approval for individual expenditures. This is just as Steve said, a projection.
Okay, I move that we approve the City of Union City, Indiana capital improvement plan for the amended dates of 2025 and 2026.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All, Amy, I'm sorry, roll call vote one last time.
Gary Elliott,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Burr.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Bill Peters.
Yes.
All right. Vision Corner, that's gonna be tabled to the next meeting, for the executive director role, still in collaborative spirit with the school. Visitors wishing to address the board, if you would please stand, state your name and address and nature of business. Yeah.
I have a question, Bob Gentry, North Plum Street. What is the status of the Rock House program? Where are we on that? I've always thought that was one of the best things we'd ever come up with, but I'm not hearing anything about it.
We've got a house down on, one house behind the library, that we've had, Steve put out for open bid. We received any bids yet for that house?
No, sir.
Okay, we've still got to receive a bid for that house to sell. And so that's the most current status of it. That was, the inside's not completely done. The brunt of it's been done, but the kitchen floor still needs finished and the appliances inserted. But that's the current status of it. We don't have any other homes that have been gifted to us, because both homes were gifted to us.
Right, I know, and that was.
That was part of it, yeah. And so, I mean, here's long and short of it too, if we did have another, we would have to sell this one, we could still accept another home if it was gifted to us. We would just have to have either the volunteer help on board to get it done, or bare minimum, it would have to be salvageable enough in terms of dollars and cents to where if we brought in like, you know, a private contractor in the area to do it, to make it a flip. Again, we're not looking to make money off of it, you know, we're just trying to
No, that was
not
never
lose
good.
money. Yeah, if not the objective was to restore a home and get a family in it. So that would, and the first time it worked well. I mean, that house has not only been lived in, but it's sold to another family that was right out of town and down here on the corner by the library. And so that has gone well. This one, we just need to, we need to get it sold. One thing that's held it back is the one next to it. It's a condemned home sitting right next to it. It would be ideal if we had the funds to demo that. It would clean up, it would automatically make the Rock House look a lot more appealing,
Yeah.
and would hence probably have a bid associated with it.
Have you considered giving the Rock House to a realtor?
Yes, we've actually had that discussion, and we have to have it finished. So what we're up against right now is just the budget to have it finished. Ideally, that's why we put out for bid, because we thought if somebody would be willing to bid on it and purchase it, they could finish it. You know, if it's either a young family, like myself back in the day when I was looking for a home to buy, I would have been willing to buy it,
Oh, I would.
finish, yeah, and finish it, and that way you've got sweat equity in it,
Yeah.
and you've got immediate equity, dollars and cents equity in it. But we just haven't found that yet. So appreciate the question, because I mean we need to get it out there in terms of its availability. We thought we had a kid on the hook for it. Debbie, oh gosh, what's her son's name? Debbie, it runs a nail salon down Howard Street. I can't remember. I apologize, my mind's slipping. But anyway, her son had some interest in it, but he ended up going in a different direction because he needed to move quickly with his fiance.
Weimer.
Thank you. Yes, Debbie Weimer's son. Thank you.
Is the house next to it salvageable? I mean,
I'm the
it could
wrong
be-
one to ask.
it
To
could
me,
be-
it looks like it is, but I'm the wrong one to ask that. Because it looks like, whenever I see those old brick structures, it doesn't look like soft Indiana brick. It looks like a solid house. If somebody that knows what they're doing went in there, they could probably make hay with it. But I don't know.
Yeah, I was
I don't
just
know if you
curious
guys.
if anybody looked at it or did any study on it or anything.
Yeah, because we don't own it. It's owned by a guy in Florida. It's the same joker that owns the. I shouldn't say that. That's not nice. I said that out loud. It's the same individual in Florida who owns the house that's condemned behind the corner. Bear with me. Northwest corner of Plum and Oak, across from the First Christian Church.
There's two of them.
Yes, there's two of them right there. The one is really bad shape. The one that's in really bad shape is the one owned by the same one that owns the one
Yeah.
by the Rock House.
And the problem is that we can literally tear the house down
Yep.
with the way with what an ordinance allows, but we don't necessarily take possession. We don't take
Yeah.
possession of the property,
And we can put the money on the taxes.
we put the money on the taxes and everything, but we can't if the taxes are paid where the county doesn't seize it for taxes,
Mhm.
you know, and which doesn't count what we put on there, you know.
Right.
But if they're not in arrears on taxes, then it can stay in that status.
Yeah.
Just like some other properties that we have where we've taken houses down, but somebody still owns the property, and some of them are worthless lots, and
Yeah.
some of them have yellow signs on them and various things. but-
Yeah, like down
So-
the loop. Yeah.
So while tearing the house down would still be an enhancement, we still wouldn't own the property, and
Right.
and someday somebody's gonna finally give up and give that property up, but it doesn't have an immediate effect. Plus, even if the house is savable, we have a hard time if we can't develop any agreement with the owner
Right.
to donate it or anything like that.
Yeah, because really, if the house is salvageable next to the Rock House, I mean, that could possibly hold appeal to someone if they knew they could get it in order to just rehab it.
Yeah.
Um,
I would not like to see the rock program
go.
die.
I agree. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Surely there must be someone, if the word is out there,
Mhm.
that would be interested in rehabbing maybe that house. The guy in Florida that owns it, if he only got $1,000 out of it, and somebody went in and made a livable home out of it,
Mhm.
we would have accomplished something.
Big time. Big time.
Uh,
And it would be local ownership again.
Or
Yeah.
if it's been condemned, what, has the lawyer got any tricks up her sleeve that can be used to take possession of it?
You know what? I will ask Mara. I will ask her. She's very sharp.
Well,
And Amy, if you don't mind, put this on the agenda for the first meeting in January.
Okay.
So
one
we
of
make sure
the
we
things
follow
that's
up.
always a challenge with some of the absentee owners like that is that they don't necessarily have a realistic view of what property is worth.
Worth,
in
exactly.
terms
Yeah,
of
because
the-
he's living in a nice neighborhood in Florida.
And,
Yeah.
and, you know, like, for example, the house that we demoed on Oak Street behind the old liquor store,
Mhm.
that lot is nearly worthless. It's not, you couldn't build a new house on it. There's not much of anything. The only value it holds is to the adjacent neighbors
Right.
in terms
Right.
of use, because you could never get a permit, the
Yeah, you can
setbacks
build
and
on
so
that.
forth, you'll never get a
Yeah.
permit to build anything reasonable on that.
Mhm.
But they're gonna hang on to that because it's a piece of property that someplace else would be worth
Yeah.
$20,000, and here it's worth almost nothing.
Yeah, like you said, a very distorted view.
And so it's kind of a difficult situation we're in, because you have people that don't have the realization
Mhm.
that their property that they have here. Of course, some of them, most of these houses, they've acquired these properties in tax sale or foreclosures because I could get this house for just a few $100s. Well, you know, you didn't even get your money's worth at that
Yeah.
point, because you just basically got an albatross.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're still
And
stuck.
then,
with it.
and we're stuck with it.
Mhm.
So I have a question. Steve, you mentioned that we put it out for bid, right? So what does that process look like? I mean, is there something I can share on Facebook? I mean, I think we could be getting the word out a little better. I don't know.
It was posted on the Facebook page already that we were accepting bids on the Rock House, and we've received nothing back.
Is that 214 Hickory? Or what's the address on that? I
It's either
apologize.
214 or
I can look
216
it up.
something.
It's one house away from the back of the library. Alex, you wouldn't happen to know, would you? Sorry.
But I've been wondering about it.
Yeah, a lot of us.
I don't know if my math's gonna pull up the time, but yeah, well,
We
pull it up on the map.
we have done a multitude of things. We've talked to our local contractors, they're not interested. We've put open bids on the property, nobody's responded. The property owner to the east is just non-existent.
214, thank you.
And, you know, the issue for the city to continue this program, even though everybody's in agreement that it's a good program, the amount of time that it takes to flip and renovate these houses when they're 20 years with no maintenance or upkeep is tremendous. And without the city employing literally a full-time contractor and a couple of hands to help him do the work, or help them do the work, it's a huge uphill push. So it just is. You know, you struggle hanging Christmas lights because we don't have enough volunteer help. The same principle applies everywhere. There's no volunteer firefighters anymore on either side of town. They're all getting paid. That's just the world that we live in. So volunteerism and doing a project, even though it's got a lot of value and a lot of good things to it, like that is it's just almost impossible to finish.
It makes you wonder if we had a young contractor, because I know like early on was it the family lived what's the family that lives down there off of Oak, Pollitt. When he first started, I know he was looking to get established. I think he's very well established now. He does great work, but I know when he was looking to get established, he had someone like that that's looking to make a name for themselves and could have a couple guys that was willing, if that's something that the city would entertain, to say, hey, we're gonna have a young contractor give us a quote for what it would cost to flip this home, and know that they've got a budget they've got to adhere to, and this is what we would, propose. And again, this would have to be contingent on selling the current Rock House, and so
We're looking at an average cost of demo of about $30,000 a piece. If you put $30,000 in a lot of the properties that are on the condemned list, you would be close on a lot of them to be able to sell them and put a family in.
At least make a sizable dent.
Now, you can't do all new floors and new kitchens and all the expensive stuff, but you can make them safe, you could put doors and windows, you could insulate, you could do the things that would enable the houses to be viable for families.
And if it was a gifted home, or a home you got for pennies, you could do enhance it that much more. You could probably, that's where the realtor's important too in the process, just to make sure you stay within the realm of what's sellable.
And
Well, that's what I was hoping to hear, to rethink. It's a good program. We need to come at it at a different angle.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd hate to see it die just because we had one that's drug on too long.
Right.
We don't want to see it die. It's just
No, but rethink it.
It's a budget conversation at this point.
Like you said, if $30,000 invested properly with a hell, when I was that age, somebody offered me that. I'd have done it on the weekends, build a house on the weekend.
Yep.
So I mean, there's got to be other people out here that are interested in getting ahead. I don't know how you reach them, but I'd hate to see it die because we didn't try to reach it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree 100%.
But I would think it'd be safe to say that our best chance of moving this house is if it's complete.
Mhm.
Because one of the biggest challenges for a lot of people with purchasing is that they have to borrow money, and it's, to pass an inspection, it's gonna have to have a complete,
True.
the
True.
kitchen's gonna have to
True.
be done,
True.
basically, so.
Yep.
Is that the primary status on it
Yeah.
that needs to be done? Okay, well, we can get together.
Okay, that'll work.
Yeah, the floor and the cabinets need to be done in the kitchen, and that's it.
Yeah. Okay.
All righty. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. All right, the day of the next council meeting will be Monday, January 13th at, oh, good grief, 2025 at 6 p.m. Yeah, I know. Like we should all be flying cars, but Board of Public Works meeting will also be Monday, January 13th at 1:45 p.m. I would hereby entertain a motion for adjournment.
So move.
We have a first, and we have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Meeting adjourned.
Merry Christmas.